Hello, it's a lovely good evening and welcome to Camnet Television News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Our top stories in the news tonight: LAS differs with ECZ over BOWMAN LUSAMBO and MALANJI'S eligibility to recontest their seats. Renowned journalist DJOKOTOE put to his final resting place. Displaced LITETA residents by Chinese investors seek government intervention. In news, Angolans vote Wednesday to determine country's future. And in sports news, President Hakainde Hichilema advises athletes to exercise utmost levels of discipline.
Are you a business organization or an individual with a dream to register your presence in Zambia and around the world? Waste no time, because Camnet Television is offering an opportunity to sponsor any of the following programs: the main news, national matters, breakfast show, the verdict, partnership of greatness, economic briefcase, business and sports news. For more details, call following numbers. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
The first league season is here. It brings new teams and players on the scene. Among the new entrants on the block are the amazing Born for Greatness, Camnet Stars Football Club. Camnet Stars will this Saturday, 27th August 2022, face the Super Eagles of Bowmani at Margaret Mwanakato Ground in Bowmani. Time 15 hours. Remember, this Saturday, make it a point to come, watch and support Camnet Stars Football Club, the champions of today and tomorrow. Camnet Stars, popularly known as the local national team, a team born for greatness. See you there.
Another news in detail. A newborn baby was Tuesday, 23rd August 2022, retrieved alive from a peddler train with its umbilical cord hanging in Lima Ward 30 of George Compound in Lusaka's Matero constituency. A check by Camnet News Wednesday morning found irate members of the public who were calling for the perpetrator to be found and brought to book, attributing the act to high levels of alcohol abuse leading to illicit sexual activities. Meanwhile, Lima Ward 30 Councillor Daniel Mwewa has revealed that plans to start conducting community sensitization meetings on the dangers of drug and alcohol abuse are underway, as such incidents are becoming commonplace in the community. More in this report.
While reports of women exterminating their pregnancies and dumping their unborn babies have been rife, the case of George Compound in Lusaka's Matero constituency has left many shocked, as a newborn baby was Tuesday retrieved alive from one of the pit latrines in the area with this umbilical cord hanging. This has greatly annoyed residents, especially mothers, who have called on their fellow mothers to inculcate good morals in their children while still young. Others have called on both men and women to act responsibly, stating that only women are mostly blamed in such circumstances. The residents have also cited high levels of drug and alcohol abuse, stating that this has been leading to illicit sexual activities, hence bringing about unwanted children.
So ndepa nabwera zona na ngena mtoilet zona kapeza kaje ndepa nabwana kamba tifula kwa magravu so ndepa nabwana pasa magravu ndepa nangenesa manja mkati mtoilet muja panangenesa kwanja mtoilet muja nabwana gwira kachokamo kamwana natenga plastiki eka na bwana gwira futi kanyulenze mukatambala na kachosa katambala mugwira achokamo futi mukatambala tinaye sero mwenze makoswe yambi amene yenzo choka makoswe ticho pushing ache toilet makoswe yamba kuchoka kwamba kutamanga but tinamtairire uja mwana tinameka sure mwana bija toilet paka yapwanyiwa na ku saving uja life ya mwana tinamushtarash pa clinic mwana uja kondo mpea kuli manasezi baja na wewe vanamsevenzera accordingly na mwana bana imvera situation
uyu mwana tinamuvera kuma 04 tinanyamuka kupereka report kapena kweza kuma 05 kubauza kuti ku toilet muri mwana ba polisi wakapokona kambati tilibe transport nanga bamne bana kwanza kuchoka kutari kugera kugumura matero bana kwanza kuchoka kutari kugumura toilet beve benzina transport maini polisi ya bwanji wazambo titandizira bwanji kozi ni pafupi baja ni government iyanganepo ni pafima ningi uyu mwana licheni ya na polisi but wanaboka mbati walibe transport uche amene tina kwanisa baja wanyama tabayu PND bana kwanza kugera kugumura toilet benze na transport leve.
What we can say is they don't know how to take responsibilities. Yeah, so both men and women, we need to take care of innocent souls.
Meanwhile, Lima Wateti Councillor Daniel Mwewa says conducting community sensitization meetings on the dangers of drug and alcohol abuse could help in reducing the incidents, which he says have become monthly in the community.
Substance abuse, it is on a rise. This is also giving birth to our youths, boys and girls, to engage into sexual activity, as well as it is also giving birth to crime.
The baby was rushed to Maternal Level 1 hospital for treatment, but succumbed to death Wednesday afternoon. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Unknown people have vandalized an ablution block built by traders at Lusaka's Kamala South Market, walking away with equipment worth more than 2,000 kwacha. The act has angered the traders, who feel the local authority has failed to provide security to the market, as well as connect water and electricity. Meanwhile, Kamala Ward 8 Councillor Mainda Simata says he has applied for resources under the Constituency Development Fund CDF to have the water and electricity connected to the market, and has since appealed to the Ministry of Local Government to expedite the process of releasing the funds. More in this report.
Over 800 shops at Lusaka's Kamala South Market have remained white elephants after being abandoned by owners due to lack of water, electricity and security at the market. In an attempt to bring life to the market, traders contributed resources and built this ablution block, but due to delays by the local authority to connect electricity and water, as well as provide security to the market, some unknown people have now vandalized the ablution block.
The drainment, the council, from now on, it is now I ask the council who will pick up this project. But despite the debt that I give them, now the thieves have now come. They have broken the plate and stolen now our things to import with our own money. So we are appealing to the council if they can help us to come and finish this quickly, as soon as possible.
And some traders spoken to are angered by the development and now wants the local authority to look into the issue with the urgency it deserves.
So manje tipempako security, tipempako na manzi na matoilet yaseguliwe na shelter. Titi nkale mukati mwa shelter.
Because the market, we have been running this market for a long time, but it seems things are not going well. So we're appealing if they can come out through our councillor to be assisted with what we are appealing to.
Bakanso kudia batuletere kofie kama gate ba security kuchide fintu fyonse kuno fibe bwino nama sheo toko bachaba restisha bareka ko muchintererwe
Meanwhile, Kamwala Ward 5 Councillor Mainda Simata, who inspected the market, says he has applied for resources under the Constituency Development Fund CDF to have water and electricity connected to the market, and has since appealed to the Ministry of Local Government to expedite the process of releasing the funds.
Proposed for the installation of water facilities and the borehole, as well as bringing up the security gates around, as well as the construction of a market shade. When that is done, I think the market will have all the facilities that are necessary for people to trade from here. Then we are going to see a boost in activity in this market. But for as long as there is no security, there is no water, there is no sewerage, there is no market master or any form of administration, these things will continue to happen, and it's a loss for us as a community.
The traders now await on the authority to urgently come to their rescue before a life can be lost due to trading along the roadside. Prudence Chota reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Electoral Commission of Zambia has announced that it will not accept nominations of former Kabushi Member of Parliament BOWMAN LUSAMBO and former Kwacha Member of Parliament Joseph Malanji in the nominations scheduled for tomorrow, the 15th of September, for the parliamentary by-elections. In a statement issued to Camnet TV, ECZ says the two are not eligible to recontest according to the Constitution following the nullification of their elections. Meanwhile, Opposition Patriotic Front Information and Publicity Chairperson Raphael Nakachinda has charged that the announcement by the Commission is a highly embarrassing statement because ECZ has no mandate to interpret the law. More in this report.
After being confident of recontesting in the Kabushi and Kwacha constituency by-elections following the nullification of their elections, it seems luck is not on the side of former Kabushi Member of Parliament BOWMAN LUSAMBO and his counterpart former Kwacha Member of Parliament Joseph Malanji. The Electoral Commission of Zambia has announced that it will not accept their nominations scheduled for tomorrow, the 25th of August 2022, on ground that they are not eligible to recontest following the decision by the Constitutional Court to uphold the lower court's decision to nullify their elections as members of Parliament, respectively. In a statement released to Camnet, ECZ states that this is in line with Article 72(4) of the Constitution of Zambia Amended Act No. 2 of 2016. However, this statement has not sat well with the Opposition Patriotic Front, who have already adopted the two candidates. PF Information and Publicity Chairperson Raphael Nakachinda says the released statement by the Commission is an embarrassment.
The statement from ECZ, first of all, it is bad at law. Two, they don't even have the locus standi to make declarations as indicated in that particular statement. The ECZ is not a court. It has no mandate or indeed authority to interpret the law and even come up with a position. The role of the ECZ is basically to scrutinize the documents as prescribed in the Constitution which are required for somebody to be eligible to contest.
The outspoken politician has on several occasions alleged that there was a plot to block the two candidates from recontesting in the by-elections.
The UPND through the ECZ, particularly that statement, they are treading on dangerous grounds. If the ECZ insists on such maneuvers, they are actually attempting to torch this country and put it on fire. Because you can't play with the emotions of people, as charged as it is in Kabushi, as charged as it is in Kwacha.
Meanwhile, according to a statement released by the Law Association of Zambia, it states that the two candidates were never disqualified from recontesting in the by-elections by the Constitutional Court. The Electoral Commission of Zambia set the 15th of September 2022 for the by-elections. Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
Chikondi Foundation President Bishop John Mambo has charged that the United Party for National Development UPND administration cannot afford to relax because the people's expectations are too high. Today marks the first anniversary since the inauguration of Zambia's 7th Republican President, Hakainde Hichilema, in 2021. And Bishop Mambo notes that while President Hichilema's led government has already enforced some progressive policies, such as the extension of free education to secondary level, more still needs to be done. Bishop Mambo tells Camnet News that Zambians are unpredictable, hence it is only logical that focus is directed towards making life easy for them to thrive in their endeavors. He says young people decided in the previous election and they will continue to do so in the future, thus the need to address their plight.
It's not the people of Zambia. Just like we knew to say one minister going to ZNBC and say, come August, Tiba Uje Guti, Mwanyala, it didn't work. It doesn't work. So I've told the people of Zambia, in fact, I was one of those who said, we shall do it, don't whoever. Because the mindset of a Zambian is unpredictable. You can't tell him. Even the current government, you can't say, no, we are settled. No. They have to work. The expectation is too high. And what are they doing? The president, the cabinet, yourself, all of us are saying, let us deliver. People want food on the table. Now, if you take my grandchildren, my children to school, free of charge, which the prophets of doom are saying they will not fulfill, who is not happy? A person in the village who literally has nothing for grade 7 exams, and now the child can go all the way to grade 12 and later on go to vocational training. Who would say in 5 years go and sleep? No. So you are living in the dream. The bitterness is seen by the action, the talks, the hate, and so forth. Now, it is me to ask for forgiveness once I've made a mistake. But the more they continue to make Zambians think they are fools, you wait for 2026. Because, I mean, that was the language. When I win election, which I'm going to hand over to me, I will arrest that person. No, if it was other country and so forth.
The United Party for National Development, UPND Religious Affairs Chairperson Kelly Mukonka has urged churches in Zambia to join in sensitizing their church members on the importance of participating in the ongoing National Housing and Population Census of 2022. In an interview, Pastor Mukonka notes that as a partner in development, churches should not sit idle in such times, but should also take up the role of educating their members on the need not to shun census enumerators, as well as on the importance of giving correct information. He notes that the National Housing and Population Census is important as it helps in national planning, hence the need for churches to participate in encouraging their members not to shun this activity. The 2022 National Housing and Population Census is ongoing in Zambia, having begun on the 18th of August 2022.
I request the church mother bodies across the country, the clergy across the country, please use the influence of the pulpit to make sure you inform your members to be enumerated and cooperate with enumerators across the country. Please use the pulpit influence to make sure members are sensitized in church. We need to be counted as Zambians. There is always this speculation that we are 17 million, 18 million, 20 million. We don't even know how many we are in the country. Let us take the opportunity of this census to make sure that everyone is counted. As church mother bodies with all your affiliates across the country, please run this information to make sure they have this civic awareness on the pulpit that every member in the church should be counted. And I want to emphasize the importance of census in the country. It helps the Ministry of Finance to plan, because they have known how many we are. The resource envelope is never enough, but when they know how many we are in every given district, in every given province, it helps the Ministry of Finance to plan with the meager resources they have in the envelope.
And now, renowned Ghanaian Zambian journalist EDEM JOKOTOE has been put to rest. Thousands of media practitioners, his former students, and those whose lives were touched by the late JOKOTOE, passionate for social justice and as a defender of human rights, showed up to pay their last respects at Lusaka's Cathedral of the Holy Cross. Celebrating his life, Reverend Father Trevor Mwamba has described him as a passionate journalist whose life revolved around truth and the promotion of justice. Meanwhile, Government Representative Minister of Information and Media Chushi Kasanda emphasized on the need for journalists to honor the legacy of the late veteran journalist EDEM JOKOTOE by being truthful and setting the correct agenda. More in this report.
An enthusiastic person whose passion for telling real stories cannot be ignored. His contribution to the growth of the media through training, writing and poetry are some of the many attributes he possessed. Influencing public change through journalism, reading books was part of his daily bread. The eulogies go on as the late prominent EDEM JOKOTOE is put to rest Wednesday. The Ghanaian-born Zambian journalist died on the 17th of August 2022, has not been mourned but celebrated as his life was a true reflection of journalism without fear. Bishop Trevor Mwamba, a celebrant at his send-off mass, described him as an epitome of the spirit of journalism to educate, entertain and inform the public.
And so wisely, journalism as a vocation, a calling, a vocation driven by curiosity, by integrity, by a love of words and a love of the truth. A calling of educating people to the many facets of life, places, ideas, challenges, and stories that express life. Words of EDEM, where you have a huge impact on what people think. Tomorrow's newspaper depends on you. The next news bulletin depends on you.
Daughter to Mr. EDEM JOKOTOE paid a moving tribute for her father, saying quitting was not part of his agenda, even as he battled cancer for 5 years.
I had no quit in him. He had the strongest will to live, and he fought hard to keep living until his last breath. What we have for him will carry us through with memories no one can steal. But in the same way, his death has left us with a pain that nobody can heal. Our solace is in the fact that he lived a principled life, and every moment on his life was like a beautiful story detailing a traveler on a path to heavenly bliss.
An exceptional cosmopolitan writer whose appeal spanned different cultures and countries. Such was the depth and quality of his writings that he became a recipient of a number of international awards.
Mr. JOKOTOE's former students also added their voice, represented by Lois Saili.
As he was our lecturer. If you ask me to describe EDEM in just a few words, I would simply say that he was a fine teacher and a fine scribe. I met EDEM in 1990 when I enrolled as a student in the Communications Art faculty to study journalism.
Meanwhile, Minister of Information and Media Chushi Kasanda says journalists should emulate the passion for the late JOKOTOE to enhance the standards in the industry.
Pick up the spirit where it has fallen and pursue with greater urgency and purpose. The aspiration of a skillful and a professional media that EDEM lived for. I urge the media to emulate the qualities of selflessness, sacrifice, hard work, integrity, discipline, and love for the people that EDEM exhibited in his work as a journalist.
EDEM JOKOTOE has been put to his final rest at Leopards Memorial Park. The late is survived by a wife and children. Sharon Kalimbola, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Anti-Corruption Commission has argued before the Economic Financial Crimes Court under the High Court Division that there is no evidence that former Infrastructure and Housing Minister Ronald Chitotela took plea in 2019 on a corruption case that can warrant him not to be prosecuted twice. This is in a case in which SEC has appealed the Lusaka Magistrates Court decision to discharge Mr. Chitotela on 2 corruption allegations on grounds that he was granted immunity by the commission to be exempted from prosecution. More in this report.
After losing a case against former Housing and Infrastructure Minister Ronald Chitotela in May this year, the Anti-Corruption Commission, in their appeal before the Economic Financial Crimes Court under the High Court Division, have submitted that there is no evidence to support Mr. Chitotela's claim that he underwent prosecution in 2019. Hence, he could not be tried on similar charges. In this case, the Commission has appealed against then Lusaka Principal Magistrate Jennifer Walia's ruling, dated the 18th of May 2022, to discharge Mr. Chitotela from a corruption charge where he was accused with 2 counts of being in possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime, on ground that he was granted immunity by the Commission. Hence, subjecting him to trial will be like double punishment. Recently, the Economic Financial Crimes Court ruled that it was going to proceed to hear the state's appeal after dismissing the former minister's argument that the state had filed their appeal after the stipulated time on which they ought to have done so had elapsed. And now, in its latest submissions, the Commission submits that its appeal against Mr. Chitotela, who is also Opposition Patriotic Front Pambashe Constituency Member of Parliament, wants the court to examine whether or not an undertaking made pursuant to Section 80 of the SEC Acts amounts to trying the respondent for a similar offence twice, to bring into play Article 18.5 of the Constitution and Section 138 and 277 of the CPC Act. The Commission argues that an undertaking that was made pursuant to Section 80 of the SEC Act with the former minister did not give rise to a bar-in plea, or the basis that no plea was taken and trial never took place. A plea in bar is a legal term used to refer to a pleading document or answer filed by a defendant in a lawsuit aimed at defending the action fully and in its entirety. The objective of this plea is to convince the court that there are no legal grounds justifying the holding of a trial to hear the plaintiff's action. ACC has also submitted that the charges that were leveled against Mr. Chitotela, where he was discharged in May, were not determined on their merit as required by the law to state that the defendant was already tried and acquitted of the same offence, hence requesting the court to grant their appeal. Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
Some village headmen and residents of Kakoma Ward in Chief LITETA area of Chiwambo District, Central Province, on Wednesday protested at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, seeking the minister's intervention in a matter where some Chinese investors have taken over their grazing land. Lina Muchimwa, an affected villager, says the Chinese investors have also dug a drainage in wetlands, leaving them with no place to farm and grow vegetables. And Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Elijah Muchima, who addressed the affected people, has assured them of engaging the Chinese investors by traveling to LITETA this Thursday. More in this report.
On the 24th of August 2020, villagers in Kakoma Ward of Chief LITETA in Chisamba District of Central Province protested against the decision taken by some traditional leadership in the area to give over 8,000 hectares of land to some Chinese investors. The land in question is said to be occupied by 10,000 families from 12 headmen who have now lost a place they call home, and their animals now have no land to graze from. Fast forward to 2020, the villagers have not received any help from the government, and the only thing that they receive are threats and tear gas from the police hired by the Chinese investors. The villagers Wednesday sought the attention of the Lands Minister, Elijah Muchima.
When was that? Last week. Last week. That's why petition for the policemen started throwing the tear gas. Who was complaining? This. You may be also behaving in a bad manner. If I throw tear gas here, if I order the policemen to come here, you must behave well. Also, if in Kumusukuja, don't be riotous.
And those spoken to expressed disappointment in the manner in which they have been treated by the Chinese nationals, who they say have now taken over their wetland, leaving them with no place to take their animals as well as do farming activities.
balimba drainage okusenda amabala yonse so ifwe twali bepusha balandira ati opwali edimani nombali newa tushitishe ekikyamabala so ndefwa ati baminister bakati bipushireko uyo edimani washitishe tabatwebeleshina nomba tulefwa ati baminister bakabepushe washitishe nombali nekikyamabala
apengekana alimu amachinese swebo turachana nkusu mukati mubulimi ono na miunda amachinese batuchayanisha nkusu shamana tulichiteba n'abakikoro banji abo mbo tutokwisha kama baba alimu arushibo abana banshiwa bonse tulichite machechi wonse baranda kwabika mukati tatopa ila wakabo angelewa
Kristu avundira ati temwa umunobengefyo waitemwa wemwine nomba umuntu ngayisa akufumya pupa epo wikala epo urelira epo urelishisha n'abana nefitoka fyose batamfya. Is it a Christian nation?
And in responding to their cries, Minister of Lands and Natural Resources Elijah Muchima has assured that he will Thursday, 25th August 2022, visit LITETA and engage the state Chinese nationals to see how best they can come to terms with the villagers.
Visiting them, I want also to talk to those investors. ZEMA put in recommendations, but they have abrogated some of those ZEMA recommendations. They have to live within the law, failure to which that land will return to the people.
Zambia recognizes two types of land tenure, which is customary and leasehold tenure. Customary land is protected by traditional leaders, also known as chiefs, who are only guaranteed to give up to slightly above 250 hectares of land, but the case is different for these people of LITETA, who have now been displaced from the only place they call home due to the so-called investors. The question that is now left is who is benefiting from the investment if the local people do not even have a place to take their animals for grazing.
The Constitutional Court has dismissed a motion made by Lumezi losing candidate Zelipa Chisulo, which was asking the court not to allow independent member of parliament Munia Zulu file his heads of arguments out of time in the Lumezi parliamentary petition. This is in a case in which Ms. Chisulo and others have appealed against the Chipata High Court's decision to uphold the Lumezi parliamentary election results that saw Mr. Zulu also as an independent candidate emerge victorious. More in this report.
The Lumezi parliamentary petition is still being heard before the Constitutional Court, with the court Wednesday morning dismissing the motion in opposition that was earlier made to Lumezi Independent Member of Parliament Munia Zulu's application for review of the court's ruling not to allow him file arguments out of time. The Constitutional Court has quashed the motion by losing independent candidate in the 12 August 2021 general election, Zelipa Chisolo, on ground that she has raised arguments similar to the ones in the affidavit before court, adding that if such an application is entertained, it would amount to wastage of the court's time. The court has also urged parties to avoid raising arguments that have potential to delay the delivery of the judgment in the case. In the dismissed motion, Ms. Chisolo contended that the Constitutional Court, like the Supreme Court, cannot review its decision unless exceptional circumstances. But the Lumezi lawmaker cited Article 118, Sub-Article 2, contending that justice must be administered without undue regard to procedural technicalities. In this case, Ms. Chisolo has appealed against the Chipata High Court decision to uphold the election of Mr. Munia Zulu as Lumezi independent candidate. Meanwhile, the Constitutional Court has set the 29th of August 2022 as date for hearing of Mr. Munia Zulu's application on whether or not its decision not to grant him leave to file heads of argument out of time in the Lumezi parliamentary petition pending judgment. Earlier on the 20th of May 2022, the Constitutional Court had declined Mr. Zulu's application to file heads of argument out of time and was scheduled July 29, 2022 for judgment in the petition's appeal case. Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
We'll go for a break, but we'll be back with more interesting news. Stay tuned.
It's census time. The 2022 Census of Population and Housing will be conducted from 18th August to 14th September 2022. The census collects a lot of data for use in various aspects of social and economic planning for the country. We are all required to participate in the census by being counted. You will be counted from your usual dwelling place by a census enumerator. Please receive and cooperate with the census enumerator and provide the required information when you will be visited. Your responses to the census questions will be treated with strict confidentiality and will be used for statistical purposes only.
Hi, I'm coming to count you.
Because everyone counts.
This message is brought to you by the Zambia Statistics Agency with support from the UNFPA.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Welcome back. We continue with the news. The Merchandisers Union of Zambia, MUS, has called on the Ministry of Labour to consider introducing a toll-free line in chain stores, shops and similar businesses as one way of reducing cases of worker mistreatment that are often reported from these places. In an interview, MUS acting spokesperson Susan Nakazwe notes that most of these establishments are foreign-owned and usually employ locals, many of whom are allegedly being subjected to poor working conditions and physical abuse. The union has further urged the Ministry of Labour and Social Security to normalize random inspections at these places of work to have an appreciation of what the work environment is like. More in this report.
Labour rights activists in Zambia have been calling for existing labour laws to be strengthened in order to include the stiffening of punishment on cases such as worker mistreatment if the creation of decent jobs in Zambia is to be attained. Reports of worker mistreatment in the country, especially in many foreign-owned companies, has been rife, as these range from erratic payments, salaries below the minimum wage, and physical abuse.
This is money, right? You can't walk. 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 So now why are you treating your workers like slaves? Why are you treating your workers like slaves? Huh? You can't walk. If you are tired, you are done. Yeah?
In an interview, the Merchandisers Union of Zambia MUS has sadly noted these incidents, stating that there is need to introduce a toll-free line in such establishments to make reporting of such incidents easy and timely. Union acting spokesperson Susan Nakazwe was speaking to Camnet News.
But we are therefore again appealing to the Ministry of Labour and Social Security that they should introduce a toll-free number where these workers will be readily and will be able to report cases at any time the case happens. There are cases that happens, by the time they are reaching us, it will be too late. Sometimes the cases, they need immediate action just right there. So this toll-free number will help merchandisers to be free, not only merchandisers, but other people in private sectors also to be free to report cases that are happening, that are actually abusing their rights. Because the rights of the employees, they are being abused in so many ways. So if that toll-free number is introduced, these people will have an area or will have a place where to report these cases with immediate effect right there, just upon the happening of that incident. Then, again, we want to commend the President over the issue issued on the retirement age. For us, we welcomed that and we are so glad to hear that from the President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, because that will open up opportunities for youths to work in private sectors, both also in government.
The creation of decent employment by 2030 under Sustainable Development Goal number 8 will not only entail solving the unemployment crisis in Zambia, but also ensuring that the quality of this employment is decent and sustainable. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Msazala Member of Parliament Elias Daka has called on various stakeholders to join in the fight against illegal hunting of wild animals. Mr. Daka says wildlife is the foundation of Zambia's tourism industry and foreign exchange earnings, which needs to be protected. The lawmaker notes that the noble cause should not be left to government alone, but various stakeholders have a role to play in ending the vice. Here's a report.
A game reserve is a place where animals can safely live without being unduly disturbed by poachers or any other form of intruder. That is why a large portion of land is dedicated to the animals, where building or construction is not even permitted. Some game reserves serve as very great tourist destinations in most African countries, including Zambia, who receive visitors mainly because of the popularity of their national game reserves. During his tour of duty in Chikowa Ward of LUSAMBO district, in Eastern Province, Mzanzala area Member of Parliament Elias Daka has called on various stakeholders, including local people, to join hands and fight against poaching in game reserve areas. Mr. Daka observed that on a daily basis, illegal hunting is being practiced for game meat and other unknown reasons, a situation he said is posing instability to nature. The Mzanzala lawmaker warned the local people of Chikowa and other surrounding villages to desist from such practices or face the wrath of law.
Tukwalomba nyama ngeza paka ngako kuno kwatu. So nikupembe nikuti na seo tunkhala kuno kufupi na nyama. Tieni tilekeje kupaya nyama msanga. Chifukwa seo kuno tikaona kainsha tuonamo maofozi simwamene. Tuonamo mampombwa simwamene. Koma izi nyama kuti zipake ndiye kuti na wana watu akuza akazioneko. Muziwa kuti kuli machalo yenangu, kuli countries yenangu yakuti olo insha oiziwa lini. Muziwa mwe? Olo njovu saiziva. So that's why boma inaikako ndondomeko yakuti lekani bantu na nyama bakale pamozi. That's why mwapezeka kuti kuyakene bantu osewa. Kuyakene bantu onkhala pamo na nyama. So nikupempeni kuti monga kuno kwatu chifukwa nyama makanzovu zili mufupi ngako. So tientie tione mwamene tingankhalire nazo bwino koma tisachite chipongwe kuli bazawa kapena ba game guard.
And authorities from the Department of National Parks and Wildlife had this to say over the matter.
You know, like in Sandwich GMA, the communities have built schools from the money generated from wildlife. They have built, hospitals. They have constructed teachers' houses. No, I would urge them to refrain from doing that, because if an individual kills an animal, it will only benefit himself and the family. Okay, but where that animal generates some funds, that the money therefrom is, the benefits trickles down to the whole community.
In edited development, Mr. Daka expressed concern at the low turnout of applicants for the skills development and secondary boarding school bursaries under the Constituency Development Fund, CDF.
Koma dandaulo yanga ni yakuti vana siwapezeka maka kuno kuchikowa ward kunena kwa lero rekodi amene nili nayo kulichabe mwana umozi na even Ted Nyendwa ndiye anachitako applies indalama kutaende apunzireko ku skill development.
Kudandala pankhani ya mapiswe mwabo mapipeleka free education yechiti wana ko punzira tia kumaminda kuchita mapiswe ki kudaba kuna kwa kuchikwa wana kumula limu wana zunga kuchela tia kumagani dei ya kupunzira limu.
The Association for Smallholder Farmers in Zambia President Dr. Frank Kayula is saddened that most of the companies that have been given tenders to distribute fertilizer across the country belong to foreigners. In an interview with Camnet News, Dr. Kayula notes that it is enough that Zambia imports fertilizer, stating that it is prudent that local companies benefit from the distribution of fertilizer. Dr. Kayula states that government needs to empower local distributors so that the Zambian economy can be boosted and poverty levels go down.
Well, we are happy that the government has finally announced the companies that are going to distribute fertilizer among smallholder farmers. We know the process need a bit, but we are sure that if these companies have the fertilizer here in Zambia, they should be able to distribute before the rains. Our appeal is that they do everything fast so that fertilizer is with the smallholder farmers before the rains drop. And farmers should be able to have the commodity on their fields so that they are sure what they are going to do. Their plans are implemented. The only sad thing, as usual, is that we normally have foreign companies more than the local companies. And our desire is that we should not always buy fertilizer from outside, then give the foreign companies also to distribute this fertilizer in Zambia. Let's make use of our local companies as much as possible.
We'll take a second and final break. We'll be back with international and sports news.
It's census time. The 2022 Census of Population and Housing will be conducted from 18th August to 14th September 2022. The census collects a lot of data for use in various aspects of social and economic planning for the country. We are all required to participate in the census by being counted. You will be counted from your usual dwelling place by a census enumerator. Please receive and cooperate with the census enumerator and provide the required information when you will be visited. Your responses to the census questions will be treated with strict confidentiality and will be used for statistical purposes only.
Hi, I'm coming to count you.
Because everyone counts.
This message is brought to you by the Zambia Statistics Agency with support from the UNFPA.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
The Fans League season is here. It brings new teams and players on the scene. Among the new entrants on the block are the amazing Born for Greatness, Camnet Stars Football Club. Camnet Stars will this Saturday, 27th August 2022, face the Super Eagles of Bowmani at Margaret Mwanakato Ground in Bowmani. Time 15 hours. Remember, this Saturday, make it a point to come, watch and support Camnet Stars Football Club, the champions of today and tomorrow. Camnet Stars, popularly known as the local national team, a team born for greatness. See you there.
Welcome back. And now in Angola, a struggling economy, the high cost of living, soaring poverty, compounded by the COVID pandemic, drought in southern parts of the country, and the death of a former strongman president all loom large. 8 political parties are running, but the real contest lies between the MPLA and its long-standing rival and ex-rebel movement, the National Union for the Total Independence of Angola, UNITA. For more in international news, here's a roundup.
Angola started casting ballot on Wednesday in what is expected to be the most competitive vote in its democratic history, with incumbent President João Lourenço squaring up against charismatic opposition leader Alberto Costa Jr. A struggling economy, the high cost of living, soaring poverty compounded by the COVID pandemic are just some of the few issues that voters hope will be sought out in the next government. I hope we are going to have changes in our country. A lot of changes because we are tired with the way we are living. 8 political parties are running, but the real contest lies between the MPLA and its long-standing rival and ex-rebel movement, the National Union for Total Independence of Angola, UNITA. The ruling People's Movement for the Liberation of Angola, MPLA party, which has held power for nearly 5 decades in the oil-rich nation, is facing the most serious challenge since the country's first multi-party vote in 1992. Meanwhile, the incumbent president told journalists on Wednesday that he is optimistic of winning this election. In the end, we are going to win. It's the democracy, and Angola will win. Thank you very much. Opinion polls suggest that support for the MPLA, which won 61% of the vote in 2017 election, will dwindle, while the UNITA, which has entered an electoral pact with the 2 other parties, will make gains. The voting is still ongoing in Angola. The polling stations will remain open until 5 p.m. local time. The opening time will only be extended if that there are still voters waiting to vote on the line. Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud on Tuesday pledged an all-out war to eliminate Al-Shabaab in his first statement to the nation since the jihadists staged a deadly 30-hour hotel siege in Mogadishu. On Tuesday, Mohamud convened a National Security Committee meeting attended by the Prime Minister, Interior Minister and the Foreign Minister, as well as the country's defense chiefs. In a televised speech later in the evening, Mohamud told citizens to have no doubt that Somalia will defeat the enemy that is oppressing its economy and its people. The attack, which began on Friday night, was the biggest to hit Somalia's capital since Mohamud took office in June, and underscored the challenge of trying to crush the 15-year insurgency by the Al-Qaeda-linked group. At least 21 people died and 117 others were wounded in the gun and bomb attack targeting the popular Hyatt Hotel, with the fatalities including Norwegian citizens, according to Norway's government. The siege only ended at around midnight Saturday after security forces bombarded the building, leaving much of it in ruins. East Africa's leading carrier Kenya Airways has narrowed its losses to $82.4 million compared to the same period in 2021 when it had a net loss of $95.76 million. The airways also recorded a lower net income of $228.6 million compared to the same period of $401.3 million. The carrier is now looking to reduce jet leasing costs by more than a third as the carrier targets break-even by 2024. The coronavirus crisis had hit the global aviation industry hard, but Kenya Airways was struggling long before the outbreak. The government has been working on a plan to renationalize the airline, which is one of the biggest on the continent, to save it from mounting debts that had been restructured in 2017 in an attempt to save the business. The airline last made a profit in 2012 when it closed with a net earning at $13.8 million.
It's now time for sports news. And in sports news, Republican President Hakainde Hichilema has urged athletes that participated in the just-ended Commonwealth Games and Women's Africa Cup of Nations to remain disciplined if they are to achieve more great things in life through various sports disciplines. Speaking when he hosted the athletes at State House Wednesday, the 24th of August 2022, the president has urged them not to relax simply because they minted medals in different sports activities. The president has reminded the nation that the new administration remains committed to supporting all sports disciplines across the country. The president adds that it is overwhelming to see the private sector come on board to supplement government's efforts. Some athletes were awarded with different gifts for their outstanding performance, one of them being Commonwealth Games medalist Muzala Samukonga, who received donations of over 500,000 kwacha and a 2-bedroomed house in Lusaka's Lilai area. More in this report.
Because you have brought us here because of your achievements, driven by the hard work that you put in, discipline, dedication to duty. And I want to say this here, anything you want to do, and if you want to achieve, you have to work for it. I've heard many people take assumptions that some people are lucky. I disagree with that. And I've said why I disagree with that. And I want to invite at the back of this success by our Copper Queens, our boxers, Muzala there, others, that here, if you were looking for an example, here is an example of dedication to duty, what it does. So, naimwe, vamene muli kukonza, konzani bwino with hard work, and you too shall achieve. That's my message.
Congratulations to the athletes there. To end the news, we'll take a look at stories making headlines once again. LAS differs with ECZ over BOWMAN, LUSAMBO and Joe MALANJI'S eligibility to recontest their seats. Renowned journalist EDEM JOKOTOE put to rest. Displaced LITETA residents by Chinese investors seek government intervention. In international news, Angolans vote Wednesday to determine country's future. And in sports news, President Hakainde Hichilema advises athletes to exercise utmost levels of discipline. We now look at the Camnet verse of the day, which is coming from Psalms 94, verse 18 to 19. When I said my foot is slipping, your unfailing love, Lord, supported me. When anxiety was great within me, your consolation brought me joy. On that note, we come to the end of the news. My name is Jeffrey Siambo. Bye-bye.